Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hub Cycling's 2025 Annual General Meeting. My name is Jeff Lee. I'm the president of Hub Cycling, and I'll be your host this afternoon. We're planning on having everything wrapped up by 5 p.m., but we've got lots to go over, including updates from Hub staff and the board of directors, as well as a presentation of our new 2025 to 2030 strategic plan. We're going to be asking for your support and ideas on how to effectively implement this plan based on your experience as an active travel user. We'll wrap up this meeting as we always do by announcing the winners of the 2025 Board of Directors election, as well as the outcome of the motions to amend our bylaws. I have just had confirmation from staff that we have quorum, so calling this meeting to order. We have a special bonus for you that we haven't been able to announce until now. Filmmaker and CBC journalist Utai Lee has made a video for Hub Cycling on the importance of regional bike share and micromobility programs, and we'll be showing a trailer. Just take a few minutes after the AGM wraps up. So if you're not in a hurry, stick around for those results. I know some of you may be disappointed we aren't meeting in person, but the feedback we had after last year's hybrid meeting indicated that virtual meetings made it more accessible for people from across the province to attend. Please use the chat function to ask questions of our speakers or share feedback. We rely on our membership to hold us to account, so please don't be shy. A reminder that all AGM documents can be found at bikehub.ca/AGM. We'll do our best to answer all questions during the session, but if time runs short, we'll follow up with you afterwards. We also want to remind everyone to please abide by Hub Cycling's community standards. Anyone sharing inappropriate or irrelevant material in the chat or being disruptive in a breakout room will be removed by a moderator. Before we begin, on behalf of Hub Cycling, I want to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered today on traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. These nations have lived on, stewarded, and cared for these lands and waterways since time immemorial, ensuring the prosperity of future generations. At Hub Cycling, we are grateful to work on the unceded territories of more than 11 Indigenous nations. We recognize our responsibility to care for the land, especially as we confront the challenges of climate change. We are committed to learning from and working with Indigenous communities to support sustainable and respectful stewardship of these lands. Just to give you a summary of how the afternoon will go, first, we're going to vote on several motions. You'll be voting online. A poll should pop up on your screen. And if you're not a Hub Cycling member, please refrain from voting on the poll. There's one special motion that we've added in this year. We did our online voting over the past few weeks, but a member pointed out to us that we had a typo in our online ballot for motion 2. And the description of the motion said we wanted to limit directors to 3 consecutive terms, but there was also a reference to 3 consecutive years. We're going to use the same motion language here and vote today on whether or not to change our bylaws to establish a limit of 3 consecutive terms for board directors. We will then get updates from Hub Cycling's Executive Director, Rose Gardner, followed by an update from Leanna Grimes, our board's Regional Advisory Committee co-chair. Please have your questions ready for Rose and Leanna, as they will take time after their presentations to answer them. This year, instead of a guest speaker, we've decided to present our new 2025 to 2030 strategic plan. We're going to walk through a high-level summary of the goals and the objectives, and in the breakout rooms, we'd like to hear any ideas you have as for implementing that plan. After the breakout rooms, we will hear from our board treasurer, Esther Holobowicz, on Hub Cycling's financials. The AGM will conclude with our elections officer and board member, Felipe Alvarenga, announcing the results of the Board of Directors election and the results of the motions we put forth to our membership. Hub Cycling members were invited to vote for these individuals and motions via electronic ballot over the past 2 weeks. So now let's move on to the motions. A reminder that you may only vote on these motions if you are a current Hub Cycling member. This year we have 5 motions. They will all appear on your screen after I call for their approval and after another board director has seconded the motions. You will have 45 seconds to select your choices. For simplicity, we'll have board member Victoria Gray second each of the motions. Motion 1 is to approve the 2025 agenda. I move that we approve the 2025 Hub Cycling Annual General Meeting agenda.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Victoria. Minutes of the last AGM, a motion to approve the 2024 AGM minutes. I move that we approve the 2024 Hub Cycling Annual General Meeting minutes as distributed.
I second the motion.
Motion 3, and this year Felipe Alvarenga, who is a current board director but not up for re-election, has agreed to take on the role of elections officer. He has the results of our online voting and will announce them later in the meeting. I move to approve Felipe Alvarenga as elections officer.
I second the motion.
Our fourth motion is to approve Manning Elliott as our independent external reviewer. Esther, a board member and treasurer, will be giving an update on our financial statement later in the meeting. I move that we approve Manning Elliott as our independent external financial reviewer.
I second that motion.
And now the motion that we've added back in that some of you will be familiar with from our online voting. We move that Hub Cycling amend its bylaws to limit the number of consecutive terms a director can run for or serve by adding to bylaws part 4.25 subsection 11. Directors cannot run for or serve more than 3 consecutive terms.
I second the motion.
We'll give some time now for people to vote. Thank you for your votes. Let the record show that all motions have been approved by the membership voting today. Being a board member is a volunteer position and requires a significant amount of dedication and time. So I want to acknowledge all current and outgoing board members here, many of whom you may have met in the past. This year, our outgoing board members are Alex Flynn, Marion Shields Brown, Amir Hassanpour. I want to acknowledge our continuing board members and those standing for re-election: Victoria Gray, Leanna Grimes, Felipe Alvarenga, Anne Murray, Luke Gillies, and Esther Holobowicz. I want to thank Rose Gardner, Hub Cycling's executive director, and all of the other Hub staff for the job they have done this past year. I'd also like to specifically thank Laura Jane, our past executive director, for her contributions. And a special thank you to the team here helping put on the AGM. Let's pass it over now to Rose, who will give a Hub organization update of the past year.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a privilege to stand here as your new executive director. Thank you so much, Jeff, for getting us started today and for the over 12 years you've spent dedicating so much time and energy towards making cycling better here in BC. I see many familiar names online and many new ones, and that in of itself is a testament to the incredible community we've built. For those of you that have been with us for a while, you know the feeling, the shift you might be experiencing in your neighborhood as more people choose 2 wheels to get around, that feeling of seeing a family or friend confidently riding down a protected bike lane for the first time, and that shared belief that brings us together around communities that can be safer, healthier, and more connected. So today I want to talk about how your dedication and our collective efforts have brought that vision closer to reality than ever before. So I'm giving you an update on this past year, speaking about April 2024 to March 2025, our fiscal year, which was more than just a good year. It was a big year of progress with only a few setbacks, driven by 3 of our core pillars: collaboration, advocacy, and community engagement. As you know, our work starts with people, and this past year we empowered tens of thousands of them to ride with more confidence. Our vision to have every child in BC receive cycling education made big progress in 2024. Through our Everyone Rides grade 4-5 program, we partnered with 5 delivery organizations and 2 school districts around the province to provide free cycling education to almost 10,000 students at 94 elementary schools. Here in Metro Vancouver, Hub Cycling's own instructors visited an additional 156 schools and provided on-bike education to over 16,000 students. Together with our delivery partners, Hub Cycling is now providing cycling education in over 40 communities around the province, from Victoria to Nelson, Prince George, and Trail. And in 2024, we also launched a new teacher-led option in Powell River and Campbell River, supporting smaller communities with access to cycling education as well. Those participating teachers also report an increase in students biking to school afterwards. This is a direct impact on the next generation of riders and their families. As one teacher, Stephanie Smith, said, our program helped boost the self-esteem of so many kids and demonstrated the importance of perseverance and stepping out of one's comfort zones to try something new. Together, our Bike to School program and Everyone Rides courses are providing almost 60% of public school students with cycling education before high school. And this coming year, their branding and names will be merged and simplified. But it's not just for kids. Through our streetwise cycling education centers in Vancouver and Richmond last year, we offered 55 accessible cycling courses for adults, reaching almost 500 people. We launched a new 6-week progressive program for seniors in Richmond. We provided more e-biking workshops, offering hands-on experience and online education to thousands. We also continued providing funding and resources to organizations in other parts of the province who wanted to provide e-bike education themselves and remove barriers to cycling in their communities. And over last winter, we worked to open a 3rd education center in Coquitlam this summer with a focus on micromobility. Our advocacy work is also what turns that vision into reality. And this year, we continued to ungap the map and saw some significant victories. Our 10 local committees and staff worked tirelessly, increasing their in-person engagements and attending more community events. Their dedication led to new and improved cycling routes across Metro Vancouver and ensured that future projects yet to be built prioritize safe and comfortable options for everyone. Leanna will share more right after me about our advocacy work last year, but if you're looking for a way to have a big impact on cycling in your community, please join us at one of our upcoming local committee meetings. Everyone's welcome, and the schedule is on our website. In 2024, also saw us update the Translake Regional Cycling Map and the creation of a new map for the City of Richmond, helping us all find the safest and best routes in the region. And we're looking ahead. We've engaged in a dialogue with the Ministry of Tourism and other key partners to move forward a BC cycle tourism research and development project. Over the last winter, we also developed a new bike bus program supporting families and kids to ride their bikes to school, which launched this past April. In 2024, our Bike Friendly Buildings program had a landmark year. The team provided a range of expert advice on a diverse range of projects, from a new affordable housing building in downtown Vancouver to a mixed-use building at the old Mountain Equipment Co-op site on Broadway. We also completed the largest project so far, providing a long-term bike parking strategy for 4 Kwantlen Polytech University campuses. We also partnered with the Zero Emission Innovation Center in the City of Vancouver to launch a very exciting new bike parking retrofit program, providing free bike parking analyses for 5 buildings housing low-income residents. And this work is about integrating cycling into the very fabric of our community. This past year was also a year of celebration and community. We had a triumphant return of Bike the Night for the first time since 2019. with around 800 people pedaling 10 kilometers along the iconic seawall. It was more than a ride. It was a festival of lights, music, and community spirit. And I hope some of you were able to join us just last weekend for this year's event, showcasing the new Granville Bridge connector. It's another example of how our events change lives. For example, 75% of the participants from last year's ride said they felt comfortable riding at night after the event, which was a significant increase from before the ride. Our Go by Bike weeks, both spring and fall, Bike to School week, and Bike to Shop campaigns also continue to be a huge success, with almost 30,000 people participating in these events last year. We also hosted the International Bike Film Festival, showcasing the art and culture of cycling, and we'll be doing so again this year, later in November. And lastly, we capped off the year with the Bike Awards in March, again, coming back in person for the first time since, or for the second time since 2019, where we celebrated the organizations and individuals who made cycling better in 2024. And reflecting our expanding geographic reach, for the first time, we'd honored a local group outside of Metro Vancouver, recognizing the Comox Valley School District and Cycling Coalition for their incredible work to advance cycling in their community. So building on our new strategic vision, which you'll hear much more about from Jeff and Victoria shortly, in early 2025, we took a step that will guide our future. We engaged a diversity consultant to support our work in becoming a more inclusive and diverse organization that better reflects the communities that we currently work with, but also those we seek to serve. Their recommendations and many others brought forth are now informing our collective efforts and priorities. We're also in the process of renewing our website with a fresh look and improved accessibility for users coming this winter. I want to end by saying a heartfelt thank you to everyone who made this a year of unprecedented progress possible. Our incredible staff, our board, our partners, our funders, and especially our more than 1,500 volunteers and local committee members. And to you, our members and community, thank you for your unwavering support. After over 5 years leading our education programs, I'm excited to have stepped into this new role earlier this year. And together, I know we will continue to build a safe, more equitable, and more connected communities throughout BC. One bike ride, one protected bike lane, one more confident rider at a time. And I am very confident that Hub Cycling is well positioned to weather the economic uncertainty and societal issues facing many organizations at the moment. And you'll hear more from the rest of the team about that. Cycling continues to be an effective solution for many of today's challenges, including health, climate change, affordability, and the desire for community connection and neighborhood safety. Thank you so much for your involvement. And now we have a few minutes for questions. If there's any, please add them to the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay. Are there any folks? I'm going to give it a few moments just to make sure if you're thinking about a question, please don't be shy. This is your opportunity to ask, and I will just monitor the chat. I see. How many people participated in Bike the Night this year? And someone mentioning they did as a volunteer. I believe we were capped at once again at 800 participants in Bike the Night. That's what our permits allow for, but there were many more people at the event who just happened to be walking by on the seawall and dropped in to kind of engage with the event and chat with various folks at our booths at David Land Park. And I'm not sure if we have those numbers compiled yet. I see a question from Joshua in the chat about our current income streams, but I think Esther's going to be answering that question when she goes over the financials later. Esther, if you're on here and want to confirm that that's going to be part of your financial update, please feel free to jump in either on the chat or verbally.
Yeah, I'm not going into detail, breaking down the streams of finances.
Okay, I will just point out then on the annual report, which I'll drop into the chat, or one of the team can feel free to drop into the report. There is some information below about our different income streams and how it's broken down, a mix of fee for service, grants, private donations from members like yourself. And yeah, we'll point that out so that you can limit.
Sorry to interrupt you. There is a breakdown on the financial statements of all the different funding sources, which I'll be showing.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Esther. There's also a question about what is a financial reviewer, if you wanted to take that one as well.
The financial reviewer is the accounting firm that we hired to consolidate our financial statements and present them as financial statements, and also to do the not-for-profit filing to CRA.
I can also try to explain how the City of Vancouver limits us to 800 participants. The seawall is open during Bike the Ride, so we're not limiting access to it. And of course, anyone who happens to be on the seawall while the ride is taking place can join. But our permit to organize the event, we're only able to sell that many tickets, or in this case, they were offered for free as part of our kind of agreement with the city to have our event at David Lamb Park and use the seawall as our route. And but the good news is that we've had over the last 2 years no complaints from residents or others in the city, and really strong feedback. So I hope we can be working with the city to potentially increase that so that more people can join us in the event in the future. Were there any other questions popping up that are, I see lots of chats about specific areas, but any other questions before I pass it on to Leanna? And feel free to keep asking questions in the chat. Myself and other team members who are on will do our best to answer it. And if anything else comes up afterwards, please feel free to reach out by email if your question isn't answered, or if you think of one after the end of the meeting. We'll be sharing that contact information at the end. But I don't see any more specific questions at the moment. So I'm going to pass it over to Leanna Grimes to give us a bit of an update on our Regional Advocacy Committee, as well as advocacy efforts more broadly. Leanna is the co-chair of our Regional Advisory Committee, and I'll pass it over to you, Leanna.
Thank you, Rose. Hi, everyone. I am going to be speaking to Hub Cycling's infrastructure and policy advocacy work over the past year. And I really want to start by highlighting that the advocacy work that Hub Cycling does is really a collaborative effort between Hub Cycling staff, the Regional Advisory Committee, which is a committee of the board, and all of the incredible volunteers that participate in Hub Cycling's local committees across the Metro Vancouver area. And so first off, I will introduce myself. My name is Leanna Grimes. I'm a member of the Hub Cycling Board and one of the 2 co-chairs for the Regional Advisory Committee. And for those of you who don't know, the Regional Advisory Committee, like I said, it is a board committee, and we work alongside staff on various organizational policy and infrastructure initiatives. Much of our focus is at the provincial or regional level, supporting those initiatives that impact folks across the province and across the Metro Vancouver region. We also work alongside staff to support the advocacy work that's ongoing at Hub's local committees. In particular, we do a lot of work to review and provide input on advocacy letters and materials that are prepared by our local committee members. I do want to say that although we are a board committee, we do also really welcome the involvement of Hub members as community representatives, contributing to the advocacy work of the organization. And I'll speak a bit more about that later on in the presentation. And so now I want to talk about some of the really key highlights from over the last year, starting with the work that we've done at the provincial level. And I want to talk about some of the ongoing engagement work that we've done, in particular with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. So Hub Cycling participates as a member of the Active Transportation Working Group, and we've been working with Mont to contribute to updates to the BC Active Transportation Design Guidelines. This will include some recommendations on what infrastructure municipalities should look at building to ensure equitable access to cycling for people of all ages and abilities. Some other work that you may have heard of is us doing work on Motor Vehicle Act reforms, and some key priorities for Hub, again, that you may have heard of over the past year, is working to promote the 30-kilometer-per-hour speed limit in neighborhoods. We've also been working to promote safer intersections, in particular, really focusing on automated enforcement technologies to help with implementation of those Motor Vehicle Act reforms, and then looking at other province-wide policy updates that can again help with the implementation of the Act. Some other more specific key highlights that have come over the past year. During the 2024 election back in October, we did quite a bit of outreach to candidates to really understand their positions on active transportation. So Hub Cycling, we reached out to all registered candidates across BC to find out whether they supported 3 focus areas that we had defined. That included continued reform of the Motor Vehicle Act, equitable funding for active transportation to help deliver on the Clean BC goals, and for those in the Metro Vancouver area, we asked about their support for TransLink's Access to Everyone initiative. And for those elsewhere, we asked about their support for similar types of programs in their jurisdictional areas. This was a really great initiative that helped for voters to understand candidate positions on prioritizing active transportation. Some other key things that we participated in with the BC budget, we contributed some comments on the budget, and our budget recommendations are mentioned in the final report that was submitted by the Select Standing Committee on Finance and Government Services, and would encourage folks to take a look at what ended up in that final report. And another initiative that we completed recently was in July as part of the Clean BC progress review process. The Hub Cycling team met with the Clean BC independent review panel to share our input, and a summary of that input is available on our website if you'd like to learn more about what was shared with Clean BC. At the regional level, the focus of our past year has been in working with TransLink, and we've done quite a bit of work with TransLink on their major bike network. And so a few different things we've been working on. For one, we're working alongside TransLink to develop wayfinding guidelines to help with navigation of active transportation routes and cycle highways. And then we had a really exciting initiative in the fall in November where we worked alongside the TransLink team to organize a workshop with local committee members to participate and provide feedback to the TransLink team on gaps in the major bikeway network. The TransLink team said this was incredibly helpful to have the opportunity to meet with local committees. So thank you to those of you who did participate in that. It was a really, really great initiative. The other piece that we participated in is providing commentary on TransLink's 2025 investment plan with a real focus on those comments towards active transportation investment alongside TransLink's infrastructure. And so getting to the more local level, again, I want to call out the hundreds of local committee volunteers across the Metro Vancouver region and really just give a round of applause for the endless amounts of hours that go into all of the work at the local level. Hub has 10 local committees across the Metro Vancouver region that you can see sort of outlined on the map there. And over the past year, those committees submitted more than 80 letters of recommendation, or 80 letters with recommendations and assessment ride reports to mayors and councils. They had more than 90 official meetings with decision makers, including folks within local government. They conducted over 35 community social rides, participated in over 25 local events, just an incredible amount of advocacy work happening at the local level. And if anyone here wants to get more involved, our local committees are always looking for more folks to participate. So we encourage you to visit our website, learn more about the local committees in your area, and get involved any way that you can. Some more general work that we're doing with respect to partnerships and collaboration is we're really looking for different ways to work with other organizations to support and amplify their advocacy work and to work together on key initiatives. So an example is Bike Fraser Valley, otherwise known as Bike Abbotsford, has been engaging with the province on the Highway 1 corridor improvement program to really promote inclusion of active transportation infrastructure in that project from the early stages. They've been doing such incredible work. And so the Regional Advisory Committee sent a letter of support for all of the recommendations that Bike Fraser Valley has put forward to really try and amplify their ongoing advocacy work into that project. We're going to be looking for more opportunities to do these kinds of things to support those across the province, also working on active transportation. Some other things that we're doing as well is looking into ways to continue supporting local committees and providing them with resources to help them really dig into some of the policy work happening in their municipalities, such as reviewing transportation plans, looking at municipal budget recommendations, and helping with infrastructure assessment reports. And then events are a big part as well. We've both attended and hosted events within community, but also with all 4 levels of government, including federal, provincial, municipal, and First Nations governments, to really better understand community needs in different areas. And so as a bit of a look ahead and where we're going, so the Regional Advisory Committee, as part of our annual action plan, has a few key highlights we wanted to point out for everyone today. One being is we're continuing to engage with the province on major infrastructure and policy initiatives, but also really looking at identifying and prioritizing new initiatives to focus our energy on. Like I said, we're also really looking at partnership opportunities and collaboration opportunities with other parties working on active transportation across the province. And as Rose highlighted, we do have a particular focus on expanding cycle highways across the province and focusing some of our efforts on that. We are going to be continuing to champion the priority gap list as a tool for advocacy. We've heard such great feedback from folks within local committees that this is a really helpful tool in helping to advance their advocacy work. And so we're going to continue to expand that as well. And then another focus for us over the coming year is to revisit the mandate of the Regional Advisory Committee in light of our new strategic plan and organizational direction, which, like Rose said, you'll hear more about from our colleagues Victoria and Jeff in the next presentation. And so just to close off, as I mentioned at the beginning, yes, RAC is a board committee, but we also really welcome and encourage any hub members to join as a community member. There's a lot more work we could be doing, but we need more brilliant minds and hands to help advance that. And so if you have an interest in communications, advocacy, policy research, we would really love to hear from you. So please do send us a note at rac.hub@bikehub.ca to learn more. And we really look forward to hearing from you. And now I think there are a few moments for questions before I pass it to Victoria and Jeff to talk about the strategic plan. And see if I can see the chat. I see there's lots of links being shared for folks who might want to get involved. Are there any questions about Hub's advocacy work more broadly? I'm not seeing any, but if you do pop them in, we'll be sure to answer them. And with that, I will pass it off to Victoria and Jeff to speak about the strategic plan.
Leanna, it's Jeff. There's one question just been posted, and the question is, what is the framework for supporting committees outside the Metro Vancouver area? And I think that's, I'm not sure that we have the answer for that, but do you want to speak to that, or would you like me to?
I can start and you can jump in if you'd like. So it's a very good question, Joshua. And it's actually one of the things we were talking about at our RAC meeting this week is about building a framework for advocacy to support expanded efforts across the province and support a harmonization of all of our advocacy work. So we are already doing work on advocacy initiatives across the province, but we are looking to expand to support committees that are operating in jurisdictions outside of the Metro Vancouver area as an initiative in the future. And Jeff, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on that.
I could just say that within Metro Vancouver, we've used this local committee model, and we imagine the same model can be used throughout the rest of BC. But we don't want to compete with local groups. We want to find ways to work with them. And it's a work in process. So we have been operating outside of the Lower Mainland for some years, but we have not organized local committees outside of the Lower Mainland. We're now starting that effort. And as we figure it out, we'll be sure to communicate. And if people have suggestions on that, we're happy to hear them. But that's the work in front of us right now. Leanna, there's another question on the current city of Surrey and how Surrey has responded to HUB recommendations. I'm going to suggest that we ask our Surrey local committee. I don't have the answer to that, but we can commit to come back with a response from them and follow up. So I think we'd leave that one to there.
Thanks, everyone. I will pass it off to Victoria and Jeff.
I don't think that worked. Did it work? Jeff, can you tell me if you're seeing the right? Hang on a second.
I did just then, yes.
You did. Okay, sorry. No, you were like, it's the joy of virtual meetings. There you go.
That looks great.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to start the first few slides here. Victoria and I are going to present this together, so you don't have to listen to either one of us all the way through it. But the introduction to this is simply that we have had 5-year strategic plans for over 10 years now. We had a strategic plan, then we've had 2 5-year plans, and so this is a continuation of that tradition. We don't just develop these plans, we also measure our progress against them. The plan that is in front of us now was the result of a 12-month process. It was led by the board of directors. It worked very closely with senior staff and with subject matter experts on staff. And we pulled in external advisors this time, recognizing that we wanted to talk somewhat about the rest of BC and specific topics where we perhaps did not have as much information as we would like, and we didn't represent all of BC's population. So we brought those advisors in to make sure that we were hearing their voices as well. Slide, please.
So I'm going to specifics of it. We're going to start at a very high level. We're going to talk about vision and mission of the organization. And we actually ended up simplifying the vision statement that we used this year in this version of the plan versus the last version. We wanted it to be a little simpler, and we wanted to make sure it had really sort of language that was more evocative of the future that we want to see, that we're working towards as an organization. So we came up with this, a future where cycling is seen by everyone as an essential mode of transportation in BC and is always a safe, comfortable, and convenient choice. Which I think if you think about those words and picture that wonderful future, I think all of us on this in this meeting would be very excited if this were to come true, and that's what we're all working towards. The mission statement is really about how we think we can best achieve our vision. And we had a really healthy discussion about our mission, just to ensure, did it need to evolve at all versus the last version we had in our last strategic plan? And we came to an overwhelming consensus that it's really spot on for what we think we need to do to achieve that mission. So it continues to be to get more people cycling more often. Now, the other thing that is included in our strategic plan are values, and these are things that are very important. We have lots of values that we use, that we operate by as an organization, whether it's the board, the staff, the instructors, the volunteers, the members. So a lot of, I think, values we share that are very important to us, but we really needed to narrow it down to which ones were integral to moving forward with our vision and mission. So we came up with 6 after all the discussions we had. The first one's collaboration. We accomplish more when we work in partnership with others, both internally and externally. We seek out common interests and build strong and trusting relationships. We also wanted to call out equity. We believe in actively addressing historical and systemic inequalities to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to succeed. We amplify underrepresented voices and create pathways for participation and success. We also called out inclusivity. We welcome and celebrate the diversity of all residents of British Columbia. By embracing diversity, we better connect with and serve our members and our communities. And innovation is super key. We recognize that progress comes with change. So we harness our creativity, proactivity, and resilience to address challenges and create new opportunities. Responsibility. This is all very important to us on the board, and I know our staff and instructors as well. We're here to serve our members, supporters, and communities. We act with integrity and transparency, are accountable for our actions, and make evidence-based decisions. And last but certainly not least is sustainability. We integrate the 3 pillars of social, environmental, and financial sustainability in our decision-making. Those are our 6 values.
Thanks, Victoria. I'm going to speak about the first 3 goals. We have set 6 high-level goals for the organization, and I want to point out that these are high-level goals. They're not as specific and measurable, but they're the areas that we're going to try and achieve specific things. And when we come to the objectives, you'll see SMART objectives that are measurable and time-bound and so on. So we'll talk about those as well. But first, the goals. Our first goal is pretty clear. It's more and better cycling networks across British Columbia, with a focus on infrastructure that is comfortable for most people. And that's a shift for us because we're actively going to advocate across British Columbia. We have focused in the past on Metro Vancouver, and we certainly dealt with the province on province-wide issues, but we're moving our advocacy to local communities across BC. Secondly, we want to create a deeper impact among communities that face social, cultural, financial, and/or accessibility barriers to cycling. These are things like our mentorship program and our New Canadian program and so on. But we want to make sure that we're putting our effort where it can have the most impact of getting more people cycling more often. Our third goal is to improve and expand our cycling-related education for users of all transportation modes. So currently we're offering beginner bike skills and intermediate bike skills. We are in the schools. We have school programs throughout communities in BC, and we want to continue to expand those.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm going to take you through the next 3 goals. Our 4th goal is increased and deepened engagement through our current programs and new initiatives. So this means that we want to continue with some of the things that we do or have done in the past, but we also want to look at new programs, new opportunities. As the province changes, as the needs change, we want to be flexible and able to adapt to ensure that we're getting that engagement both at a depot level and with more people. Goal number 5, stronger policies and legislation at all levels and with all types of government that make cycling safer, more accessible, and appealing. This is really focused on our advocacy work for safer infrastructure for all ages and abilities. And really, this requires a lot of work in partnership with government, whether it's municipal, provincial. We will continue to do this. It will continue to be a focus for our organization. And goal number 6, which is a little bit more internal, I would say, or at least from an organizational perspective, is to ensure we increase recognition as British Columbia's trusted resource for cycling education, advocacy, celebration, and research.
Thanks, Victoria. So those 6 objectives are the buckets, if you will. Those goals, are the buckets that our objectives fit in. And I'm going to walk now through some more of the specific objectives here. Could I have the slide, please?
Mm.
We're setting out to see a 15% increase in cycling route kilometers in Metro Vancouver and a 25% increase in comfortable for most cycling route kilometers. Now, that particular objective focuses on Metro Vancouver because that's where we have the best data. We have our state of cycling benchmarking data has inventoried all of the cycling infrastructure in Metro Vancouver. So we can set specific targets about increasing the amount of route kilometers and the comfortable for most routes. Our second objective thinks about the rest of BC. We want to do state of cycling benchmarking assessments in select urban regions across BC so that we can set these targets. There's very little information today on the quality of cycling infrastructure outside of Metro Vancouver. We did this in Metro Vancouver and completed that report. We want to set out to do similar work in the rest of BC, and it starts with a focus on urban centers outside of Metro Vancouver, and there's obvious targets there where we're currently doing cycling education, for example, where we can focus. Our third objective is that we want to achieve 80% of public school children across BC being reached by a hub cycling education program in the school at least once during their elementary school years. We're not far from that, but we want to get it up to 80%, and it's amazing to me that in the past few years we've got up as far as we have. But I think that we need to keep driving to reach school children across BC using our proven programs. We also want to increase our participation in our streetwise cycling education programs, and that includes intensive cycling programs that engage equity denied communities. And we want to double the number of programs that we're delivering there, increase it by 100%. We want to increase the participation in our programs and events by 40% over the 5 years in this plan. We want to drive for 50% of BC residents cycling regularly, at least once per week in one season, with detailed mode share research in place to track trends province-wide. We have some data on this now, but we want to keep pushing, and that's a direct measurement of getting more people cycling more often. We want to continue to the improvement of BC Motor Vehicle Act, with at least 5 of our current recommendations adopted in the coming years. And the priority focus there is on things like default 30-kilometer-hour speed limits, further enhancements to the vulnerable road user legislation, and so on. We want to see a branded network of cycle highways launched province-wide, not a hub brand, but a BC brand of cycle highways that connect those urban centers in support of both cycle tourism and transportation. We want to ensure that diversity among our board, our staff, our volunteers, our members, and our program and event participants reflects the communities we serve. And we want to make sure that 50% of BC residents are aware of hub cycling and 60% of those rate the organization positively. We have been doing surveys over the past years, and that's a drive to push further for more awareness of hub cycling as measured by the research firm surveys that we do, and drive up our positive numbers. It's easy to get people aware of us if we don't worry about what they think of us. We want more people to know about us, and we want them to think positively of us. I want to check that we're all back in the main room, and we'll carry on. So I want to thank everybody for sharing their insights and contributions today. We value your input. We will review everything. We've been taking notes in every session. And if you want to support us in executing these initiatives to make biking and active travel safer and better in your communities, this is our plug to consider supporting Hub Cycling with either a monthly or a one-time donation. All support is appreciated. We're now going to move to Esther for an update on our financials.
Hi, everyone. Am I good to go? Welcome to our 2025 AGM. My name is Esther Holovovich, and I am a director on the board, serving as board treasurer and co-chair of the operations committee for the past 2 years. I'm here to present to you this year's financial report. As a reminder, our fiscal year is from April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. To start, I would again like to acknowledge the excellent work of Hub's operations director, Emily Beam, our office manager, Jennifer Ray, and our bookkeeper, Marianne Boss. And to all our staff, thank you. I'm happy to report that we once again have had another record year in terms of revenue, and we continue to have a very strong overall cash balance at the end of the year. This is great news, as it allows us to continue to execute our mission, even in light of these uncertain and unpredictable times we are in. Let's now review the highlights of the financial statements. So I'm just going to share this. We're going to start with our financial statements were prepared by management, which includes our director of operations and our bookkeeper. They were then reviewed by the operations committee, which is a board-controlled committee similar to an audit committee. We once again had a review engagement performed by Manning Elliott, an independent accounting firm located here in Vancouver. As you can see from the review engagement report prepared by Manning Elliott, there is nothing that came to their attention that would cause them to believe that the financial statements do not present fairly the financial position of Hub Cycling. In addition, the report states that from their review, the financial statements are prepared in accordance with the Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. The completed financial statements prepared by Manning Elliott were then approved by the board of Hub Cycling. This is their engagement report. Let's now move on to the statement of financial position. Or the balance sheet for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2025. Let's begin at the bottom of the statement, the net assets. The net assets at the end of the year were $381,766, which is up about 21% from the balance at March 31st, 2024. We continue to have our assets, mostly cash and accounts receivable, greater than our liabilities, or the amounts that we owe. You'll notice that our liabilities are up from the prior year due to an increase in deferred revenues. This increase is due to funding and payments received in advance, particularly for our growing education programs. As the programs are rolled out in the current year, 2025-2026, these funds will be allocated to each program. An explanation and breakdown of deferred revenue can be found in note 6 of the financial statements. Our overall cash balance remains healthy. As mentioned in prior years, the best practices of nonprofits is to target 3 months of fixed operating costs covered by cash reserve to weather any uncertainty. At the end of the year, sorry, I'm on the wrong page, we had $1,028,476 of cash on hand. And of that, we had $366,000 of reserve cash, an increase of $40,000 over 2024. We are in a healthy position of being very close to the goal of 3 months of fixed operating expenses. As we move forward into 2025, 2026, we are working to close that gap even further. Let's move on to the statement of revenue and expenses, also known as the income statement. First, I am happy to note that our revenue continues to grow year over year to record amounts. However, this year's increase is not as dramatic as last year, with an increase of 1% year over year. While we remain stable with revenue, our expenses actually decreased about 2.5% year over year. We ended the year with a net excess, or net income, of $69,129, an improvement over 2023 and 2024's deficits. In our 2025-2026 fiscal year budget, we have looked for even more ways to reduce costs as we move forward in uncertain times. As we look forward into 2026, we continue on our mission and on our goal to get more people cycling more often. If you would like to review the 2025 financial statements, they can be found on our website. Thank you. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. I'm not seeing any.
Sorry, I don't see Esther, but we'll keep watching for a moment.
There's no questions, then I guess I will pass it on to Felipe.
Thank you, Esther. Hi, everyone. I'm Felipe, Board Director, Co-Chair of BDC Committee, and Elections Officer for this AGM. And now I'm happy to present the results of the board elections. Allow me to share my screen real quick. The elected directors for the Hub Cycling Board are Anne Murray, Antonio Arciniega, Esther Halubowicz, Gabriela Favaron, Luke Gillies, and Robert Patton. Congratulations to the elected directors, and thank you to everyone who applied. The board and BDC will be in touch with the elected directors regarding next steps. Now, moving on to the results of the proposed motions. Motion 1, passed. Motion 2, passed. Motion 3, passed. Thank you, everyone. Jeff, I pass it on to you.
Thank you, Felipe. I'd like to congratulate the newly elected board members. We'll be in touch with you very soon about onboarding and the next steps. I do want to check now if there are any additional questions for us to cover. We're going to give this a moment and check the chat and see. Not seeing any additional questions. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we'll be showing a quick trailer of a short film that Ute Lee, CBC journalist and host of the YouTube program About Here, has produced for Hub. And that will be after we motion to adjourn. Stick around for an extra 5 minutes after the poll closes if you'd like to be the first to see it. I move that we adjourn. You will see a poll pop up again asking you to vote on this motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
Okay, and we're there. We're going to officially adjourn now and launch the trailer. If you still have any questions, please reach out to us. You can reach staff at membership@bikehub.ca. You can reach the full board at board@bikehub.ca. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for taking time out of your afternoon to join us. We appreciate it. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, okay. This is one of the fastest growing modes of transportation in our cities today. You might know it as Mobi, Lime, Bixi, City Bike, Bird, Spin, Divvy, Indigo, Metrobike, or a number of other names, but they all fall under an overarching category called shared micromobility. No, we have to come up with a better name than that. These are services that provide lightweight vehicles like bikes and scooters for rent throughout the city, whether it's picking one up at a dock station or picking one off the sidewalk. And these small vehicles are having a big impact. In 2010, people across North America took about 3.7 million trips on these systems. By 2023, that number had exploded to 157 million. In the US, that's partially thanks to the rise of scooter shares. But in Canada, that growth is actually being driven by docked bike shares. One of the fastest growing systems on the continent is Bikeshare Toronto. Its ridership has doubled since the pandemic and continues to break records every year. In fact, Canada is actually home to one of the top bike sharing systems on the planet, Bixi, in Montreal. The dock stations are everywhere, they're dirt cheap to rent, and the city itself has a generous network of protected bike lanes crisscrossing the city. This is my first traffic jam. Put that all together, and Bixi becomes one of the cheapest, most affordable, and most enjoyable ways to get around town. This bike share saw a whopping 13 million trips last year, which is second only to New York. But this is probably not your experience, because frankly, systems like Bixi are the exception, not the norm. The top 5 bike sharing systems account for over 75% of all bike sharing trips across North America. So what's really going on here is that a handful of cities are finding a ton of success with bike share, while most really struggle to provide this service. For the rest of us Anglophones, shared bikes and scooters are often expensive, messy, and only available in certain areas. The services themselves can be unreliable, with companies changing every other year or even shutting down. That difference is what I want to get into for this video. Why are bike shares and scooter shares breaking records in some cities and literally going bankrupt in others? And there's the lawnmowers. Let's get out of here. Wait, I need my bike.